Greetings, adventurers. My name is Valkyria and welcome to my Let's Play series of Vampire the Masquerade, Shadows of New York. This is episode 4 and we are on night 3. So let's start this March 2020, the beginning of the pandemic. Back at it again at Big Beat Burger, even if we said that we would never go there ever again. Familiar sounds, familiar smells, familiar faces. Yet again, I'm recalling that night when everything finally seemed to change for the better. I mean, it's not like I wasn't expecting everything to go back to the old depressing normal. Even in the thick of it, the rational part of me recognized my state as temporary. But with these highs, there's always a hope it won't end. Or maybe that an ego death will finally occur. Be satisfied, you stupid B word, I commend you. Here's all the logical evidence for why you should be satisfied. Here's the obvious direction for your life. And here's a detailed explanation of how you should treat the people that care for you. No dice. I always fall back in the same old habits. It's like they were encoded deep in my DNA. The aimlessness, the powerlessness, the spiritual exhaustion, these goddamn fast food trips. The stupid self-loathing, amplified whenever I drink somebody's blood, and we did last night. Maybe I should just blame it all on the misfortune of my birth. You do this social climbing until you dissociate, and then you are just the untethered, constantly frustrated ball of dumb desires. Except, I'm sort of immortal right now, and I need to figure out what to do next. Wow, I watched this obscure Asian movie once, Eli Lema Sabshkani. I'm sure I pronounced it very badly. Starring Tadanobu Asano, one of the coolest guys in the world. He plays this Merzbow-like figure, a legendary noise musician. There's this mysterious virus spreading around the world, causing despair and mass suicide. Oh god, it's a bit weird to play this game and have this situation with right now what's going on in the world. A rich CEO's granddaughter gets sick and longs to die, so he spends a fortune searching for the cure. Turns out Asano and his friend, played by this violent onsen geisha guy, are traveling through Japan searching for the corpse-strewn towns and fields for any unique item that can produce beautiful sounds. As it turns out, the avant-garde walls of noise they create are able to heal the infected. The CEO begs the band to help, offering them all the money they want, but for some reason they refuse. Through a series of flashbacks, concerts, and vignettes, a mystery unfolds. Eventually, we realize that Asano's music is not just a remedy, it's also a cause of the virus. Whenever it connects with people, they get this hunger for more extreme, more novel experiences. And eventually, they hit a wall. Nothing can satisfy them anymore. They lose their will to live. Not even the musicians are spared from this curse. They know the end will come, sooner or later. The girl is saved by a mind-blowing concert, but the tragedy is merely postponed, not averted. The last shot of a Jesus-like Asano silently considering his role as a savior and destroyer stayed with me. The form of the film is abrasive. Little to no narrative coherence, some weird cartoonish soundtrack, the very free form and hard to understand weaves of themes. But at this point, movies like this are all that truly connect with me. I'm the New York City representative of the La Sombra clan now, also known as the Night Clan. They are masters of shadows, who cast distorted reflections and make modern tech go haywire in their prisons. Last year, a few months before I was embraced, the La Sombra had joined with the Camarilla, the biggest and most traditional sect in the vampire world. The two groups actually used to fight each other, but our leaders found some intel that made them reconsider the strategy, so they sent a diplomatic mission to parley with their historical enemies. The deal they got in Chicago was simple: an unlife for an unlife. For every La Sombra vampire allowed in the ivory tower, one La Sombra vampire has to meet their ultimate end. A lot of dictionary update. I still remember the name of the woman who met her final death so I could begin my own life. Her name was Esther Reed, a sworn enemy of the Camarilla, a guerrilla fighter who spent decades opposing them. She was someone with far better principles than mine, from what I have gathered. Well, whoever she was, her execution by my sir served to convince the New York NYC elites to give us La Sombra a chance. Then they set out to look for a mutually agreed upon candidate who would become the clan's rep in the city. My sire, sir, searched for someone who gave the impression she was more than she appeared. The local court was looking for someone they could walk all over. After long negotiations, they decided I was a good compromise. They proceeded to systematically destroy my entire life, just to make me show I was psychologically strong enough to join their ranks. The turncoat special, they called it. Somehow, I succeeded. So this is like a recap of what happened, by the way, at the beginning. If you guys needed more information. And it eventually led me right back to where I started, in this cafe. I stopped writing and put my pen down. Valérie! Oh, I love her hairstyle and her pearl necklace. She looks good. Will that be all? Yes, Miss Duval. I hope you enjoy your stay in London. Valérie, if I remember correctly, was she in the first game? I think I've seen her somewhere. Oh, I very much doubt I will. Just like every cultured person, I think the only good Englishman is a dead Englishman. Oh, girl. That's rude. Privilege, come. Must be nice traveling the world and all that. Hey, Caracas, Mogadishu, Shanghai, the blood tastes the same anywhere you go. The biggest difference is that your duties become more of a hassle. Miss Duval, every word you uttered tonight just made you more punchable. That will be all. Tell Kadzir I said hello and farewell. Safe travels. Don't let the door hit you on the way out, psycho. Oh well. I'm the lone La Sombra in this town, and my representational role means jack. No title, no perks, no whatever. Right now, I'm the court's gopher, doing all sorts of work nobody else will touch. My main duties? Being a sort of an immigration officer. See, New York City is probably the biggest vampire travel hub in the USA, and definitely the biggest one on the East Coast. Almost every kindred arriving from Africa and Europe comes through here. The local Camarilla is nuts about bureaucracy and population control, so every vampire leaving or arriving in this town is supposed to check with me to inform me about their travels. What a job, honestly. Well, in theory at least, the VIPs play by different rules. They take care of this stuff through connections and servants. But for the smaller fish, I'm like a vampire Statue of Liberty, the first bloodsucker every kindred coming to New York City should see, on paper anyway. The first after the prince, or Kadzir, or the primogen, consul. These things vary. Yeah, I'm a naturally treacherous La Sombra, so they still prefer being traditional and hands-on about these things. As I said, at the end of the day, I'm just a gopher. And this work only serves to remind me I'm not quite in, just standing at the gate. They haven't even given me an office. I just meet everyone in public places, such as coffee shops or this fast food restaurant. Some consider this is an insult and lash out at me, but luckily, most of them understand we're in the same boat. Only here because we're cursed, who need to be reminded of our place from time to time. Oh. Speaking of, my last client is 15 minutes late, and I still have more errands to run tonight. This is getting irritating. To be honest, I should just find some self-respect and leave. Just before we do that, let's go in the dictionary. The Clan La Sombra. The prince's advisor, usually elders, though mostly the younger so-called ancilla in New York City, who represent the interests of the local kindred. Traditionally, each major clan, faction, or sect would be given a place on the console. This framework naturally favors the Camarilla, though anyone can bring grievances to a primogen. I don't know how to pronounce this word with my French accent. Not of their own clan. There are a few other rules governing can become a primogen. let's say this out. But recent decades have seen the old paradigms rapidly shifting. Luckily, Prince Panard asks the console advice often, but it's not secret that she mostly uses the primogen to confirm a course of action she's already made her mind about. I was curious about the Ivory Tower, another name for the Camarilla, usually used in a less official, occasionally derogatory context. There are a lot of description, to be honest. That's a lot of text. But I won't. My sorry upbringing left me with this stupid sense of responsibility. 10 more minutes pass. Eventually, an unfamiliar woman appears by the door. She tells someone to stand by the door and walks in. Oh, I love her mask. She looks so beautiful. Oh, she's stunning. Long chestnut hair, body stuck in her late teens by the look of it, a fashionable scarf covering most of her face, elegant clothes, dignified walk. I signal her to sit in front of me, trying my best not to let my impatience show. She obliged. Took your time, Here to check in? Yeah, I'll be polite. Here to check in. I am Julia Sobinsky. I presume she's scanning her surroundings like we're at a circus. I hope you won't mind if I make it quick. I'm needed in Elysium. Name? Catherine Weiss. I swear I've heard the name before. Someone else's description of her crosses my mind. That weird lady who owns the art hall, but is never there? Weird? So it is our Catherine Weiss, the owner of the art hall, de facto headquarters of the New York City Camarilla. Oh, for Christ's sake, Julia, what are you doing calling her weird right off the bat? God knows you've already made a fool of yourself in front of enough VIPs in the city. Recover. I'm sorry, it's just that I still don't know many people there, so I have to go by the descriptions I'm given by members of the Primogen. Well, the description is mostly correct. Outside of that one word that slightly perplexes me. Pot calling the kettle black. Sounds like. From what I gather, it's just that your interests are rumored to be not fully aligned with the Camarillas, and it irks some folks up there. Being a keeper of the Elysium is not enough for some, I see. I suspected as much. But what can you do? She seems chill. Good. Anyway, Catherine Rice, wow, yes. Want me to spell it? People often have trouble getting it right. Forgive my indiscretion, it's just that people of your stature usually don't bother checking in with me. They usually report their arrival to one of the Primogen, and they make all the arrangements. I heard Prince Penard is busy with the preparations for a big party. I assumed that if I spared her some paperwork, she'd appreciate it as a gesture of goodwill. Besides, I wanted to meet the infamous La Sombra representative out of sheer curiosity. My interest piqued once I heard about her. She looks around knowingly. Unique circumstances. Yes, Prince Hélène Panard had trouble justifying the exorbitant rent my property would need. That's literally pennies for her. And as far as I know, she's been sitting on an empty property since last year. Looks like they've got it out for you. Bad. That's what I assume, but it's not nice to get a confirmation. Oh, but it's nice to get a confirmation. Well, it's not like my clan has ever been particularly popular in these parts. At least, that's what I've heard. Sins of the fathers and so on. Yes, just to make sure you've never met Esther. But you know of her? I do know. I wouldn't be here if not for her. Have you two met? No, I only heard of her once or twice. We had similar outlooks on many issues, although we tended to come up with completely different solutions. In any case, I think it's meaningful that Hester died so that you could live. They feared her. Now they fear you, and that's why they're keeping you down. If anyone who's not a VIP said this to me, I'd laugh in their face. Oh, I get what she's doing. She's trying to buy my favors. Best not to act like I'm easy to please. Stick to business. Time will tell. In the meantime, I'll need you to help me out of my documentation. Help me out with my documentation, of course. So, where are you coming from? Washington, D.C. She says it the way people in Hollywood movies say it. The way that suggests our Washington is wildly different from the Washington you and I would see. What were you doing there? Take a guess. Government work? Write that down. It had to amuse Hélène a little bit. If you say so. Date and hour of arrival? She takes out a plane ticket and slides it towards me. It's all here. 1 a.m. Got it. Method of transit plane. Purpose of visit? Meeting with Prince. How to work just fine. I guess. Estimated duration of visit? Undefined. Write in 6 months if you really need to. Place of accommodation? Conditions of intended stay? The art hall conditions should be adequate. You tell me. I tend to be happy with Airbnb. Home sweet home? I'm not certain that I ever felt particularly at home here. That makes 2 of us. Curious, do you have nothing holding you up here? Holding you here? The face of a blonde-haired friend appears in my mind's eye, then vanishes. There's nothing holding me anywhere. I see. A prolonged silence. She stares into my eyes and I return the stare. She's studying me. It's unnerving, but I do my best not to turn away. Eventually, she smiles. Didn't you say you were short on time? Oh god, yes. Cadet will kill me. I quickly begin to collect my stuff from underneath the table. You can simply inform him I paid you a visit. He'll understand and he'll pass it on to everyone who should be in the know. I don't want to say that. Maybe I'll say, need anything else? Do you need anything else? I'm fine. I was about to ask you that myself. You're the one asking questions here. That's all from me. Good. We will see each other soon, I hope. The party tomorrow night? I wasn't invited. Not cool enough. She gives me a pitying look. I understand. Well, if not given the opportunity, we should make her own. I'll be in touch. I want to hang out with her. I want to go to a party with her. Good night, Mrs. Weiss. I wish you a pleasant stay. Good night, and don't rush these things. You've got your own life ahead of you. And you're in a position where you can take it easy. Take your time. Get a different perspective. I nod and walk slowly out the door. When I lose sight of the restaurants, I sprint toward the subway. Slow night? Kadir, you look cool. I wish. You're late again, by the way. I hope you have a good excuse. Kadir Al-Asmai, the mighty sheriff of New York City, is not happy with me. No wonder. I met him in front of Elysium 30 minutes later than the time we had agreed on. Yeah, well, Catherine Weiss decided to arrive fashionably late. A likely story. She's supposed to be out of the city. If you think I'm pulling your leg, boss, feel free to check my report. I pass him all of the official papers, the way I do every other night. Kadir stares me down for a good few seconds, then his steely gaze softens. You're serious? Weiss and McDonald's, with the mask and elegant clothes surrounded by the smell of french fries and hamburger patties? That must have been one hell of a sight. Technically, it was BBB, not McDonald's. But yeah, God, I made such a fool of myself. First thing I did, I quoted somebody calling her a weirdo. I want to die on the spot, even if I'm already dead. Serves you right, you walking faux pas. I've been trying to teach you to control your tongue, but you never learn. It's a new gaffe every week with you. Still, there's good news and bad news. The good news is Catherine has a fondness for vampires of humble beginnings, probably why she decided to see you in your, shall we say, natural habitat. She's one of those rich art scenes who seek out working class cred. I did say something about watching your tongue. The bad news is she is very astute, so she can recognize a moron like you straight away. You never stood a chance at impressing her. Oh, shut up, you still need me for anything here. I'll get on it straight away. I wouldn't be standing out here chatting with you if I hadn't taken care of my duties. 30 minutes is all it took to finish preparations for the big party I'm about to see everyone off. Sorry. Couldn't be helped, I suppose, and it's more your loss than mine. I just wanted some company tonight, and you could really use a chance to appear here on official duty so everyone can get to know your face. Heaven knows your fast food job isn't going to get you anywhere. You need to, what do they call it, hustle? You don't need to tell me that, but it's not like being paraded around for a bunch of blue-blooded douchebags is. He somehow manages to give me a painful nudge in the back without so much as a hint of visible movement. Language, you fool of a took. They're coming out. Just stand here in silence for 5 minutes and focus on not embarrassing yourself any further, will you? Tss, got it. The first two silhouettes appear in the doorway of the art hall. An old man in a wheelchair pushed forward by his young servant. I haven't seen either of them before. Oh, he looks dead. Mr. Payne, the night is still young. Hope you find the rest of it pleasant. Payne, the wheelchair. I've heard about him. Addison Payne, one of the American Camarilla's main connections to the government and Wall Street, disabled in quite a few ways, needs a servant to communicate. I'd be full of resentment if I was embraced in this condition, but apparently Payne is nothing but grateful for his immortality. He keeps writing fervent defenses of the tradition Camarilla's customs. Good night, Mr. Payne. He wordlessly shakes Kadir's hand, but he doesn't even deign to acknowledge me. At least the servant gives me a small bow. I return as they leave. Kadir turns to the next person leaving. Hi, Regent. Can't wait to see you in your outfit. Spare me, Sheriff. These fancy dress parties cause me enough suffering without your help. I can only hope you haven't conspired with Ellen to embarrass me with this gift. She points to a shrink-wrapped set of clothes she's carrying inside her coat. Kadir smirks briefly. I didn't have to. As you well know, Prince Panard displays a considerable foresight in the matter of party planning. Yes, if there's one thing she's deathly serious about, it's frivolities. A recognizably mortal quality, especially for a prince. We ought to celebrate it, not oppose it. Don't worry, Sheriff. I'm a big girl who knows her etiquette. I will play your game, amuse the crowd a little bit, and return to my study as fast as possible. Haisling Sturbridge, High Regent of the Chantry of the Five Borough, a hero of the Battle of New York, the biggest warlock in town, could be a prince herself if she didn't have her eyes on a bigger prize. Oh, I was curious to read about the warlock, but they're not there. Let's go with unread. Yeah, the warlock isn't there. The thing is, nobody knows what that price is. They only know it has something to do with the goal of her thaumaturgical research. Whoever tried to find out what it is failed violently. Oh, I'm sure you're going to have fun. Mrs. Subinsky here has just informed me Catherine Weiss is back in town. It is safe to assume she will join our festivities. You're kidding me. She sends a regard. Yeah, let's say that. Her negative reaction intrigues me, so I decide to give her another nudge. She told me to send her regards and that she absolutely can't wait to catch up. I think she doesn't believe me. Cheeky. That hint of torment on her face is less than I was counting on, but it will do. Wise, excellent, I'd love to catch up with her. The barely concealed venom in her voice clearly suggests that, in fact, she'd hate to catch up with her. Yes, it looks like tomorrow night will be very special, but for now, I bid you adieu. And she's gone. Is there some kind of story between Ailing and Weiss that I should be aware of? That part about sending regard, that was a bold-faced lie, wasn't it? An innocent one. Overselling someone's courtesy is just good etiquette. You're unbelievable. Well, I doubt Regent Sturbridge took it as courtesy, considering she once attempted to call for a blood hunt on Weiss. Wow, why? I've heard 5 different versions of the story and all of them seem plausible. Catherine's relationship with the city is odd to say the least, but hush for now. He's obviously trying to kill the conversation, and the appearance of Thomas Arturo gives him a perfect way out. Mr. Arturo. Oh, Alice May, keep up the good work, huh? Of course. Thomas Arturo, an architect by trade, is a herald, a member of Prince Panard's inner circle, an eccentric whose thoughts seem to be 10 times faster than his words. Good night, Mr. Arturo. Ah, yes. He disappears into the night. Well, that was brief. Maybe I should stand in their way. That might force them to properly acknowledge my existence. You severely underestimate their dedication to ignoring whelps like you. And just in case you're serious, I beg of you, don't. I've been meaning to ask you this for a while now, but never had the opportunity. You really hate Arturo's guts, don't you? He carefully measures his diplomatic response. I have no strong feelings about Thomas Arturo whatsoever. Yeah, well, considering you're always listing positive about every local Camarilla representative under the moon, you might as well have called him a language whelp. As for Arturo, I will share my opinion about him as soon as I come up with one that sticks for more than a week. A group of kindred emerge from the art hall, rushing towards the street. Only a noble-looking woman stops next to us. She's wearing a hijab, but curiously enough, she doesn't hide her hair beneath it. Primogen. If you were rude enough to stare, you'd quickly notice the cloth serves mostly to cover up her horrifying scars. Oh, she still looks really nice, though. Kadir. Oh, and young Julia. Her name is Samira. I'm doing my best not to stare because Samira is one of the few New York City Camarilla figures who hasn't been an ass to me yet. Still here, did the prince require the clan of the Huns conceal in some matter? Yes, I advised her, but that no matter how hard she tries, she shouldn't expect me to wear a different costume tomorrow night. She is the Banu Hakim Primogen. Just like the La Sombra, their clan was independent from the Camarilla until relatively recently. However, they negotiated a better deal than we did. They have a Primogen, for one. Hailing from the Middle East, the Banu Hakim are drawn to the practice of justice. The rules must be upheld and every transgression punished. They don't have much say in New York City, but the prince often seeks their judgment. It's just a good PR. I trust she was understanding. Those are beautiful clothes. Thank you so much. I am eager to see the outfit you came up with. And how are you, Julia? Have you seen any lights at the end of the tunnel? Same old, same old. Nothing else to say. Still wandering in the dark, bumping my shin every 2 steps. Sorry to hear that. I trust you're pestering the prince and your superiors to improve your standing. It's a process. Oh, Julia, you won't achieve anything if you don't keep reaching for it. Kadir, weren't you supposed to teach her the ropes? I'm trying to, Primogen, but with this child, it's always a process. I can only wish you good luck then. Good night, Julia. Good night, Kadir. Good night. Have a safe trip. The art hall has to be almost empty by now. You like her, don't you? Well, I do. Stop with your class clown act, whelp. It only serves to reveal deep insecurities. Wow, that's harsh. It's factual. Were I as harsh as you claim? She did tell us both to call her Samira, but you're still keeping your distance with that Primogen. Watch your profanity, and don't project your fantasies onto me. I won't give you a lesson about professional boundaries, but I suspect the way you will eventually learn it will be extremely unpleasant. Oh, his smile, he looks so creepy, Carter van der Weyden. Am I interrupting something, good folks? Even though I'm constantly pestering him, Cadill's composure is unshaken. His response comes swift and unfazed. Not at all, Mr. van der Weyden. Heading back to your office? You know me, my dear sheriff. Where else would I go? Now that's curious, even though Carter van der Weyden is a Primogen as well. Malkavian to be precise. Oh, they are so cool! Okay, the Malkavian, they are one of my fave in the Camarilla. The Clan of the Moon has earned its reputation as a place for total psychopaths. Here there is a twisted kind of reason to the madness of the children of Malkav. Their condition seems to stem from gazing too deeply in the web of connections that govern the world, from learning too much, seeing too much, feeling too much. Blood is how they self-medicate. All Malkavians suffer a mental breakdown following their embrace. Often this is an exacerbation of a disorder or disorders that are already present, but sometimes it is entirely new, best described as unstable. There is no telling when a Malkavian will snap or drop some unexpectedly wise insight, called oracles, jester, or visionaries if you're being nice, madmen, liabilities, and lunatics if you're not. You were so cool. In Vampire the Masquerade Bloodline, you could play one of them. I don't hear Kadir address him as much. Hope to see you tomorrow night. Oh, I will absolutely show up provided I can, but just in case, I already apologize for not making it to the prince, simply drowning in the work those days. The rhythms, tempo, and intonation patterns of his voice are so familiar. Half of it sounds like JFK, the other half exactly like Barack Obama. Just like his appearance, it all feels so fake. His old money, of course, comes from a long line of Dutch merchants who originally settled in the New York region, runs a wildly successful law office, rubs elbows with elites of both kindred and kind, varieties alike. He seems perfect in every way, and that's why he's so unnerving. He's a child of Malkav and must be blighted with some affliction, but whatever it is, it doesn't let it show. Hard not to wonder what he's hiding. The celebrations are planned to last all week. Surely you will find the time. I pray I will, my good man. I pray I will. In case you need to reach me, you know where to find me. Have a good one. He doesn't even register my presence before leaving. Sometimes I think they're all still hoping I will simply go away. As Carter drives away in his limousine, Carter shakes his head. You wanted to hear about which member of New York City's Camarilla I dislike the most? Yes? He shoots me a knowing glance and smirks. Too bad. They're all my dear colleagues, and I deeply respect every single one of them. I'm sure he's lying. Sure you do. Wouldn't you want to blurt out something that could lock you out of Mr. van der Weyden's legal services, would you? You has... Smoochie? I do expect to find myself in need of a good defense attorney when my broke, incompetent, and foul-mouthed assistant finally pushed me over the edge. Rude. You still need me here? I still need to swing by St. Patrick's tonight. Is that the pub or something? Don't worry, we're almost done. The prince is coming out. The captain is the last person to leave the ship, huh? And there she is, Hélène Panard, the big kahunas, as someone I once knew would call her, the de facto ruler of New York City and a self-professed patron of the arts. Hélène! Que dire? A penny for your thoughts. You should be pleased to hear the High Regent is resigned to her fate, my prince. Mr. van der Weyden is decidedly not. I suspect he will be too busy to join the festivities all the week through. Excellent. She turns to me. Oh, finally someone. Miss Sobinsky, weren't you supposed to accompany our good sheriff in his duties tonight? There was an unexpected change of plans. Catherine Wise is back in the city. Catherine is here. Now that's a welcome surprise. But what does it have to do with you, Miss Sobinsky? I took care of her paperwork. She said she didn't want to trouble you with all the paperwork regarding her arrival. Prince Bernard, it's all been taken care of. Kadir has already been informed of everything. That's certainly a nice gesture, but wait a minute now, where exactly did you meet her? In a fast food restaurant, my prince. I see. Hélène rubs her eyes. Not good for your makeup. Catherine and her love for proletarian amusement. I suppose it would be a source of amusing anecdotes this week. If we want to avoid these situations in the future, it might be a good time to discuss offering Miss Sovinsky an office of her own. We'll get to it eventually. There are more pressing matters at hand. The festivities starts tomorrow and there's still so much to be done. Will you make sure the art hall is secure before leaving? Certainly, my prince. Have a good night. Good night, Kadir. Good night, Miss Sovinsky. We'll talk about your work soon. Don't worry. Of course. Good night, Prince Bernard. A chauffeur escorts her to a limo. There is an awkward silence between me and Kadir until the car disappears around the corner. More pressing matters, huh? Penny for your thoughts, Sheriff. I'm certain an image of a keeper of the Elysian stuck in a fast food restaurant will linger in a Prince Bernard's mind. You're far closer to your goal than you were a few minutes ago. I'm pretty sure I've heard you say something to that effect a few times now. And I stand by my words. Rome wasn't built in a day, Julia. As a Camarilla loyalist, don't you think it sucks that the Ivory Tower is so hell-bent on showing disrespect to my clan they're actually willing to make fools of themselves in the process? We've all had to endure our own hazing rituals, but yes, the current situation is not ideal. Whatever, you need a hand closing up to the Elysium? I'll manage. It's getting late, better run. Yeah, it's getting late. Some shadow in Chicago is probably impatient to get a copy of the reports you've given me. You've pleased one master, now it's time to please the other. Yeah, here's the thing about working for two masters. Neither of them really thinks of you as their own. Not knowing how to reply, Kadir shrugs. I wave to him goodbye and head for the subway. And that, my friend, I will stop here for tonight, because it has been long hell of a ride and one hell of a night. I was sure that this would take less time than 37 minutes, but yeah, here we are. So thank you everyone for watching. If you are still here, please add a moon, like a little emoji of a moon in the comment, just to tell me that you have been there since the end of this video, because oh my god, it's so long. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to catch me outside of my YouTube videos, you can see me on stream on Twitch. I will link the link of my Twitch in the description below. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a good night. Bye.